Reveille, donks.
Look at us now, tip to tip. This is our life. This is our passion. That's the spirit we bring to this show.
I'm Luke Thomas.
I'm Brian Campbell.
This is Morning Kombat.
Oh, yeah, we're dead. We're grateful to be back at it. We're talking about Morning Kombat live and direct, Las Vegas, PBC on Prime, pay-per-view week from here at the Sirius XM Studios at the Wynn. My name is Brian Campbell. That is Luke Thomas. You've stumbled into the best damn combat sports show. Yeah, period. It's Friday, June 14th, 2024. And Luke, to say that we have a stacked special show right here, which stacked has a double meaning, apparently here with Stack 5 on his way, can you just regale the people with what we've got coming? Because this is loaded.
So let's talk about it. UFC 303 news. I can barely hear myself. UFC 303 news we're going to get to, obviously, is huge. We're going to get to a preview of the card, which is this weekend, although one of the best fights fell out this morning, unfortunately. We'll talk about that. Plus, of course, we have a new main event for UFC Saudi Arabia, which is kind of big. Ooh. We're going to get to some Tank versus Martin predictions, and an NBA champion is going to be here today.
And on top of that, how about a review, a look back to last night when Luke Thomas settled an okay bet. Bet your ass, a year in the making.
Let me say this. We were walking into the Sphere last night. We have to get this analysis off the top, but I just have to say this. We were walking into the Sphere last night, and BC said, wasn't this much better than me going to some dumb metal show?
And you agreed.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Shout out to our brother, Oteil Burbridge, the bassist of Dead & Company, for a phenomenal evening. Luke, we're going to get into a full breakdown of it. You left a little bit early,
I did.
So you might owe me one more thing to start this show and to play off this bet. Can I get a chiwiwi from you? Let's go to the videotape.
Let's get a chiwiwi.
Chiwiwis!
Hello, Raul. How are you?
What's up, bro? Hey, before we start this interview.
Too bad from that moment. Can we get a chiwiwis from you, Luke?
Man, fuck your mama.
Excuse me, sir. Could you give me directions to the interstate? All right, more to come on that, but yeah. That was cringier than Ariel. I love it. Shout out to Raul Rosas Jr., the future of mixed martial arts. Wow, do I have a lot to tell you guys about. Have you seen how ridiculous I'm dressed, by the way, Luke? This wasn't cheap either. But...
It's 6 minutes in. We got to get this moving.
Okay, Dad. Thank you very much.
So someone's got to be.
Hey, why don't you take us into the lead topic of the day and the reason why people are here?
All right, let's put the camera on me here for just a second. So let's get it going. Here is the news that we're going to react to right off the top. UFC 303 has a brand new main event, a brand new co-main event, and a brand new feature fight. So it goes something like this. UFC President Dana White announced yesterday Conor McGregor is out of UFC 303 with an injury. The fight with Michael Chandler is going to be postponed. They're not giving Michael Chandler a new fight, a new opponent. They're going to have that fight later in the calendar year. Instead, stepping in on a basically 2 weeks' notice will be Alex Pereira, putting his title up for grabs at 205 pounds against Yuri Prochazka. This, of course, is a rematch from UFC 295. So that's the first thing. Your co-main event, Brian Ortega at featherweight taking on Diego Lopez. You want to talk about a gunfight.
Banger.
Whoa.
Banger.
Whoa. And Carlos Ulberg, who was originally scheduled to take place, have a fight against Jamal Hill in the co-main, Carlos Ulberg will remain on the card, and instead he takes on Anthony Smith in a light heavyweight contest. BC, I did my live chat this morning, so let me just pitch it back to you.
Yeah.
Your immediate reaction, let's focus on the Conor McGregor part to open the show, is what?
I don't even know how you can have one word or one breakdown or even to just focus on the Conor McGregor thing. What the hell is going on over at UFC headquarters? So, Luke, unfortunately for the promotion, which has done such an incredible job of late, consistently putting out fires in the 11th hour, and this is another make lemonade out of lemons opportunity here in taking the summer blockbuster that is Conor McGregor's return and the first time fighting in 3 years and all that comes with that, and replacing it with two fights that Luke mentioned that we really want to see. But I've still got bigger questions at large about what really happened, what's really going on. You hear Dana White mention almost in passing, McGregor's injured, he's off the card. So what is the story 2 weeks later? Yes, maybe this fight will get rescheduled, but we're already 2 years into this, so that's not even the real topic here. I know you can tie this into, are they relying on McGregor's brand, and have they never replaced him as a superstar? But this whole clandestine behind-the-scenes BS, it unfortunately breeds all of the conspiratorial talk and all this other stuff.
What did you want?
It takes away from the actual thing.
Because here, I have to pay a little bit of comeuppance. At first I was skeptical there was an injury, and then as the week went on, when it was on again, off again, then off again, I was like, okay, well maybe this is an injury. But at first I had floated a hypothesis on this show that maybe there was more to a contract dispute. It does not appear to be the case, so I have to.
But I don't know, and that's the thing.
Well, hold on.
The
Let me
fact
just
that we
say
have to have that debate is the problem.
Let me just say this. That's not to say that there couldn't be more to the story. In fact, there could be, but it was reported by Ariel and it was said by Dana White that there was an injury. So we at least have to accept that at face value for the time being. And I thought it was something different, so I have to acknowledge that that was the issue. You were a little bit different than me. You wanted them to come out and say what the issue was right away. Tell me why, because I guess that part I still am not.
I mean, in some ways, it's the same beef I had when we talked about this last time. The idea of like where the UFC is at. I'm proud of it. 31 years into this, you know, I've been in this game a long while myself, and to see where they're at. But like to be that big for sport, you have to act like it. And I just feel like, what is this current situation that we're in with the UFC? Not just the relation to media and Dana's apathy toward it, but now the idea that like major news that just doesn't just affect us in the MMA newswire, but you know, the fans that potentially booked airfare and hotel and non-refundable stuff for, you know, tickets that are selling for $900, $1,000, much more on the secondary market. And for 2 weeks, you're just in limbo with no actual details. Is it an injury? Is it a contract dispute? Did Conor McGregor's dad die of a heart attack? I mean, we've heard every single thing. But like, is this the new norm where we're just going to shut out to the outside world to the things that is normally disseminated between customer, media, and entity in the sports world? If somebody's questionable for Sunday's NFL game, this doesn't just affect us in the media and what we're
So your
talk
question
about
is
in
like,
the
what
show.
does the UFC owe the public? Because the reality is UFC 303 is taking place in Las Vegas, a rule in Nevada. This is not true in every state, but it is true in Nevada. If the main event changes, they are required by law to offer refunds. So you can get a refund for UFC 303, although you can make an argument, BC, that the overall main card is actually now better, loses significant star power by you losing Conor, but you've got much better fights up and down. The new co-main event is better. I frankly like the Oldberg fight a little bit better as well. And, you know, you're getting something on short notice with the main event, but it's a pretty goddamn great replacement. What is your central issue, that the UFC owed more information because customers could have gotten refunds? Because
I think it's
isn't the issue that they wanted to hold on until they had a replacement to minimize the damage?
I'm saying when you're acting that way as a hope, maybe they're hoping that McGregor can get cleared or that he's just willing to push through. We don't know the details. I'm not sure. But like, have you ever seen, has this, like, to me, Luke, this 2-week period is largely unprecedented in how we execute our jobs, how fans execute their information. And again, if it's just, is a fight going to happen or not, that's one thing. But when it affects everything else, and I just think it makes them look bad. It just makes them look not ready for prime time. It makes them look a little bush league, and I don't love that. I do like the replacement fights. I do like the action potential. But we do have a lot of spin-off talks on there from the ideas of, like, have we seen the last of Conor McGregor? Can he physically put it back together? Is this a larger smokescreen for a contract issue? They're saying it's an injury, so we'll go with that. It's an injury. But in your opinion, is this sort of a tipping point moment when you consider that UFC 300 was 2 months ago? You could argue that should have been the biggest card coming a mile away in history. And they didn't fumble. It turned out to be a fantastic event. But there was a lot of last minute, like, let's call Poatan to save the day. He did. He came in there and saved the day. And now 2 months later, he's going to save the day again. Now it plays into his ability to be opportunistic and be great. But Luke, legitimate question here. Does this sequence from UFC 300 to this crazy last 2 weeks expose in your mind that the UFC has gone too far in watering down the market? The whole idea that we talk about them not as a star-building machine anymore, but as a content warehouse. Have we reached that tipping point where we can officially say, we got too many cards, we don't have big enough names to fill it out. Look what you just had to do to save this after you just had an all-time fire drill before that. And then you had in the Hamzat thing in the same day, in the same week. It's like when you go on Roku and say, we're the best at handling pressure, this is what we're all about, you're almost welcoming it on. But should it be that way right now when they're this successful?
My personal belief is that they do have too many shows. But I tend to think the more I consider how the situation was handled, and really all of them, I think the UFC likes this system. I think they like a system where they can, in general, have all this content that they can sell, right? And the more that they sell, the more events that they promise, the more that they can get in guaranteed contracted revenue, right? Which is now either the biggest part or the second biggest. No, it's the biggest part of how they make money is contracted revenue. When we first started covering MMA, that was not the case. It was pay-per-view exclusively was how they made the majority of their money. That is not the case anymore. It's contracted revenue. So they can keep that. These fights fall out, but I think what they would say is, well, look what we do. on 2 weeks' notice, we've got our light heavyweight champion defending his title in a rematch that everybody wants to see. And by the way, it should be noted it's an action fight. So my general belief is that the later a fight gets booked, the more you take from it in general. But it's also the case that these two guys were going to just bang it out probably no matter what. The first fight didn't go, I think, with 2 rounds or something like that. However, what I would point out to the fans is look at how many times you have last-minute main events scuttled, changed, whatever. Part of it is because the nature of MMA injuries make that happen. The other part is they have so many events on the calendar and so few that can fill out that top slot. Any kind of change becomes really problematic. And again, I want to say on paper, this new UFC 303 card looks phenomenal.
Yes.
But you're getting Ortega Lopez on short notice. You're getting a light heavyweight fight on short notice. That is an enormous risk to those fighters. So I hope they got the bag, and I hope the fights are great. But in the case of Islam Volk, that's different because one guy was already in camp, and then another guy just got off the couch. In the case of both of those fights, presumably none of them were in camp, and they're all getting the heads up at a similar time. Sort of where my head's at on this.
One thing I want to bring up, and this is like, I went on CBS Sports HQ to respond to this morning. It's funny. Look, you and I, when we talk about this over text and sort of say, like, what is this? This is wild. We're talking more of the business side and some of that, but the casual opinion, right? When we go on these CBS Sports HQ, it's all about McGregor, the star power, what he means to the sport. And the reality is, not really an active fighter, right? He hasn't fought since 2021. He hasn't won since before COVID. And we've talked ad nauseum about the second half of his career, and it's been more business, it's been more police blotter, it's been a lot of things. So I don't think they're as dependent upon him. This just happened that when he fights, he's so expensive that you're going to see an extra watered down card. But with him out of there, they make lemonade, and no one does that better. But it doesn't feel like they're a star-making system anymore. So when they announced that they were actually going to Dublin for that press conference, you get all excited because that's from the playbook of old, right? That reminds you of 2010 UFC. That reminds you of when you came for Rousey and Lesnar, but then you fell in love with the product of what's up and down. It's not so. I don't like the question of like, has a McGregor successor not been born? Because how often is that going to happen? It's a 1 in a million.
Yeah, that's asking a lot.
But I think you can ask that based upon what the casual response is to this, of who is in line to fill that slot, and has UFC done enough to put him in there? I mean, Poatan might become that just because he fills in a last minute notice in the biggest cards that they have and gets knockout wins.
There's no way to do as many shows as they do. And we all know that the injury rate in MMA, the incidence of problems where guys have to fall out, is significantly higher than it is in boxing. There's no way to make that business model work without a plug-and-play system. That is what they are. That's what you have to do. That's not even an insult or condemnation more than it is just an assessment of reality. How do you have that many shows knowing injury is such a pervasive problem without having a built-in plug-and-play system? And the question is really for the fans and what they want. Do they want to get plug-and-play fights on short notice a lot and get it consistently? Or do they want a different kind of model that's a little bit more curated around individual stars, akin to how it may have been some years ago? It seems like the answer now is they'll just take it as it comes. They'll like it the way that it is. As long as they get their UFC, they seem fine. And that's a real big boost for the UFC because that's exactly what they want as well. They want to have, attractions, people that are larger than life, that can sell more pay-per-views than the next guy. But what is really important to the UFC machine, what really makes it work, is the trains have to leave the station on time. That is more important than anything else for them.
We're going to get into Hamzat. We're going to bring in Steven Jackson. Cannot wait to get down on all the smoke fight. But to circle back to close quickly, do you not feel any of that concern that I have with the topic that we started with? And I guess if you ask him even deeper, BC, what's your real concern? If we don't check that organization as a entity, as a media entity, as a front, for not giving any info about what's actually going on, where is the injury, how long is he going to be out for, how did it happen? We get none of that, like as if it's government secrets. It's not. This is professional sports, right? It's not. These things affect betting lines. These things affect so many things. Aren't you afraid that if we're not going to get the truth in this situation, then we're essentially never going to get the truth again on anything because we're allowing this MMA media sucks, get out of here, let's bring in more people with the last name drama in the front row? Like, that's where we're headed. That's where we're going. You don't see this as like the ship's going that way, and pretty soon you're not going to get any truth.
What you're basically asking is, in a situation where you have an expensive headliner get injured, what does the UFC owe the public? Not you and me.
No,
but
what does journalism owe their own self to try to force this information out of UFC? You know
that too. I mean, that plays a role, but it still goes back to what do they owe the public? What information is owed to the public? And it is delicate because you are talking about a state where if they had just announced that Conor was out and they don't have a replacement, they would have had probably an absolute, stampede to the box office to get refunds.
Sure.
And they can still get those refunds. Again, if the main event falls out, that they have to deliver that. But this certainly softens the blow. So I can certainly understand the UFC's position. However, I'm with you as well. There are bets being placed. There are flights being booked.
Kind of unethical in some ways.
I understand them wanting to mitigate the damage. I think that's not necessarily that bad. But my rule of thumb on this is, and this is the one question I still have, which was, remember they were like, oh, there was early on, he may not fight. And it's looking pretty good, and then he won't fight again. And my point was, like, what injury could he possibly have that takes that long to figure out? And they're like, well, let's give it a couple days and see. It turns out that whatever assessment they might have made at the beginning was the correct one anyway. This is what I mean. Like, these injuries are not inscrutable orthopedic mysteries that they cannot figure out. They can figure that out pretty quick. My response is, I'm actually sympathetic to the UFC in not causing a stampede to the box office on their own interest. However, under the condition that it has to happen much quicker. And that's easy to say, oh, go find another main event on 2 weeks' notice. But I'm not the one who booked the fights.
I know.
I'm not the one who made the calendar. The public on some level is owed more than, oh, now we've got our bases covered. Now, what is it? How many days are we talking about later? We found out about this
13 days later.
This is my point. Like whatever the initial assessment was that he probably couldn't make it on Sunday or Saturday, whenever he got injured, it turned out that was the right one.
Wasn't it for June 3rd and today's June, what,
something
14th?
Something like that. This is my point. Like that, whatever that assessment was probably right.
All right, quickly, how nervous should we be for Khamzat Chimaev? We see the outpouring from his team showing the hospital bed pictures and basically saying serious deep illness that is not getting better. And don't forget about the double COVID, the public retirement. He's been through it physically before.
And again, everyone had a different experience with it. His looked to be pretty bad. He had the pictures where he was blowing blood into his sink. Remember that? He was like, I'm going to retire. And then Kadyrov was like, no, you're not. So I don't know what the medical situation is with him, but I've seen an interesting way of describing the situation, which is people are saying Alex Pereira has become everything Khamzat was supposed to be.
You're damn right.
The guy who showed up anytime, anywhere, fuck your life, I'm going to fight. And in this particular case, putting his title up for grabs as well. I will point out, though, the fact that he's 36 kind of makes it a little bit easier because he probably knows he doesn't have
fights every 2 months now, so it doesn't really matter.
And also, he probably got a gigantic bag to do
I
it.
hope.
But the point I'm trying to make is, what a change of fortunes for a guy who was shot out of a cannon to start his UFC career. All I can say is, let's see what happens. He's 30 years old, but if you want to divide someone's prime at 30, did the first half of his prime go well?
Are you talking to me and I'm John Jones right now? Are you asking about my 20s? I mean, what's going on here?
I'm saying Khamzat is 30. Your prime goes until about 33, 34. So from 26 to 30, did he maximize that portion of his prime?
No.
Probably not. Probably not.
He had a great 2020. I remember that.
He had a killer start.
Fantastic.
Well, where the fuck are we now? We'll go back to this topic.
Yeah, we will. Robert Whitaker taking on, what is it? Aliskerov.
Ikram Aliskerov.
Who is coming
by the way,
hell on.
By the way, everyone's giving all the props to Pereira and all those guys and Yuri. Fine. Pour a little one out there for Robert Whitaker, going from Khamzat to Ikram Aliskerov on a fucking week's notice. By the way, still going to be in hostile territory.
But will he fight John Jones? That's the real question.
That's the fight that everybody wants to see. By the way, last night at the Dead Show, I had visions of that fight.
Wow.
I was like, wow, they're going to make this.
Wow. I think I got healed on the inside from that show. We'll talk about that more.
I think you just took a big dump.
To segment number 2 here. And it's the launch of the new partnership. You may have seen the press releases this week. You may have seen us in Thursday's fantastic Radio Row interview special on the Morning Kombat YouTube channel. Please check that out. Jim Lampley, David Benavidez, James Toney. I mean, deep shit going on in there. But we have joined in this new revolution, the launch, All the Smoke Fight. Luke, we got a little bit of a sizzle reel to throw to, and then on the other end, we're going to welcome in one of our partners in this crime. But All the Smoke Fight is coming. We're a part of it. Let's get fired up.
What up, world? We're back. Fight Towns. Right now, we in Miami, man. David Benavidez is here in Miami right now training. We're honored to be here, able to spend some time with him and his dad, watch him train, watch him get ready for another big fight. You know, there's a lot of things going on. We've been calling Canelo out for a while. You know, a lot of people have been dodging him. His family has been through a lot. You know, his dad has been through a lot to get both his boys to where they're at. Also, we get to sit down with the legend, Roy Jones. Came all the way from Pensacola. We're starting fight times off bigger and better with Roy Jones and the champion, the Mexican monster, David Benavidez. This is Fight Times, baby. Stay tuned.
This is the type of intensity you want to see. Let's go. I love it. This is a legacy fight for both guys, and I think both guys understand that.
Did you get nervous in the big game?
I did get nervous. I think if you don't get nervous, you don't care about that moment. The biggest fight of the year, probably the biggest fight of this generation.
How do you feel?
Feel good to have these gloves on. Hat on top of the goggles. I want y'all to look to me as an ally.
Throw it. Right hook to the body. There you go. Nice.
You think I can take a body shot from you?
You sure you want to try?
No, I was asking.
In the next 10 years, I see myself being the greatest in my generation.
Hey! Woo! Yeah!
What's your name?
Big Five.
Let him know.
We were once family in Showtime. We were family once more in all the smoke fight. You saw the sizzle in the preview of the first episode of Fight Towns, which is out now with this gentleman, 2003 NBA world champion, and one half of the, should be multi-time award-winning All the Smoke podcast, Steven Jackson, joining us to talk about the fight game, but to talk about this reunion we got going on. The new Combat Sports vertical, what can you say about what's coming with All the Smoke fight?
Well, glad to be back with family, my
Yes,
guys.
sir.
I think I always call y'all guys my intro to the boxing game. Y'all definitely ushered me in the best way possible. Y'all was a great point guards with throwing me the right passes in the right time to answer questions in this boxing
I try to bring
space.
that Terry Porter
And to
style,
learn, you know
right?
what I'm saying? I learned a lot from you guys, so thank y'all. I'm glad we family again. But, you know, this is we had the great blueprint, you know, of what the boxing game should be, how it should look, and in all verticals, right? Being at Showtime. So we definitely know what it looked like. So I think now it's time for us to just make that better, take that blueprint and make that blueprint better. We have a great opportunity to be in this space and to do some great things. You know, even with Fight Times, we're off to a great start with David Benavidez and Roy Jones. I think that was a great, probably the best episode so far. Having Morning Kombat back, I think that's the best thing, having it back. And with All the Smoke Productions, it's everything.
That's what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying? All the Smoke fights. So I just think everything that the fans been loving from the boxing game the last couple of years, I think we all have it in-house as a family now. So I think it's time for us just to make it better, and we have that opportunity.
And we've taken over the old Showtime Sports and Showtime Boxing
Yes,
social channels.
yes.
Our patriarch, Brian Daly, a huge part of this operation,
GOAT.
along with your partner, Matt Barnes, as well. Speaking of fights, man, we know you're fired up about
By the
this
way,
Saturday.
so I went to my barber on Wednesday.
You getting braids?
No, no. No, but I went to my barber. He's a big NBA fan. He's always got like NBA channel on. So he's watching like an African championship or whatever teams were there. And I told him, I was like, hey, I'm he knows I do this for a living. And then he was like, oh, when are you traveling again? I'm like, oh, I'm going to the Tank fight this weekend. And I said, I'm doing a podcast this week with Steven Jackson. He goes, Malice in the Palace, baby.
Can he live that down already?
Hey, you know what? Some people respect it for the right reasons.
He loved you. He
Because
loves
you know what the prevailing thing we learned from that is? Brotherhood and loyalty.
Loyalty, man.
Okay.
Loyal to a fault.
It was so great. Anyway, he was over the moon that I was sitting here with you. So I'm going to take this clip of it and show it to him.
Say what's up. What's his name?
Jawan.
Jawan. What's up, Jawan? Yeah, you missing out, bro. Peace to you.
Yeah, there he is.
Wow,
Thank
that
you.
graphic behind us, by the way, looks
I know.
spectacular.
This graphic is sick.
That is fire, man. Rose, Conor, good job.
Needs a little more Diamante, Raul Marquez sprinkled in there.
Shout out El Diamante. I don't know where he is right now, but every time I think of him, every time I say "eso,"
Yes.
that's his famous line, man. But we'll see our brother soon.
Hey, can we talk about what's going on Fight Week right now?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, man. I know you saw it last night. Gervonta Tank Davis and Floyd are just having it out in public now.
Yes.
So for folks who didn't see it, there has obviously been some long-standing, recent beef anyway, between Tank and Floyd, with Leonard Ellerby as kind of like the intermediary.
Yep.
Sure. The
Leonard-
CEO of Mayweather Promotions.
They
or at
said he
least
resigned. I don't think he resigned. I think he got fired. They put in Richard Schaefer last night out of nowhere.
moving the operation to LA.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah. seemingly out of nowhere. And then Floyd gets on social media, says the Tank fight is canceled and you should watch the UFC card this weekend. Tank calling Floyd basically a bitch on Twitter. What do you make of all of this?
I mean, that's one thing you don't do is you don't mess with a man's pockets. You know, I think that's if you're a secure person and you have all the money you say you have, Floyd, then why even stoop to that level, right? So it's something that Tank has said or done that's really got under Floyd's skin to really make him come out and say the fight is canceled and all that. So I just think whatever it is, it's to the point where you know that they're not gonna come back from this. Like we've seen Tank and Floyd argue publicly before, but then you'll see Floyd in his corner talking to him in the corner. We've seen this many times. But I think this is a different situation because they're attacking each other personally now. It's not just about boxing. It's not just about what happened in the ring or Mayweather Promotions. It's more of him talking about Floyd owing money and now Floyd saying his fight is canceled. Like you're attacking people personally now. So I hate it got to that point because they made a lot of money together, but it'll never be the same with them two. And it probably get to the point where if they see each other in person, I think they might go to blows.
Oh wow! Well, I got to ask you because this is pretty wild. We've seen when a promoter is an ex-fighter and is a superstar, think Oscar De La Hoya. You're going to get a bloated ego. We've seen him spar with his own fighters, right? Canelo, Ryan Garcia have issues in and out. Is this rooted, do you think, in just that? People used to say when Tank was coming up, Floyd would speak too much, put his arm around him, hog the spotlight. Is it just an ego battle or is there some deeper beef there? I can't figure it out.
Well, I mean, I've seen other boxers that's been around Floyd, and a lot of people say that he don't want to be outshined by anyone. And I can see that being a problem if you're a young boxer coming up and you're around a guy who had his time and he's still trying to outshine you in your time. I mean,
Floyd's time was impeccable. Like seriously, like he beat the game. It's a perfect game, right?
So why would you even be around trying to take somebody else's shine when you mastered it? Like I get what Tank's saying, but like I said too, for Floyd to even stoop to the level and then to do all this is something that Tank said that is true. Something that really bothered him for him to get to this point. But I just hate it.
Do you think it's going to play a role tomorrow? Hard to say because dude, Leonard Ellerby. I went back and I watched the presser. This week. They introduced Leonard Ellerby as Mayweather Promotions CEO, and then gone in an instant. I don't know.
I don't think it's going to bother Tank, but I think definitely if Floyd's in the building and he's been seen and making himself seen, I think it's going to be some type of something that Tank would do to either piss Floyd off or to let him know that he's running things now. It's going to be some type of confrontation, but I don't think it's going to affect Tank's performance. I think at this point, Tank has been through so much in his career. We've seen the best Tank the last couple fights, so I think at this point he's mastered the outside stuff, especially just coming home from jail and all this type of stuff. He can't have a bad performance.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I think he'll be locked in.
Well, I think this drama takes the pressure off Errol Spence Jr., who's returning with his ex-trainer Derek James in the corner of Frank Martin here. But when we go back to Tank, we've had a lot of debate about this. I thought the Gloves Off program that Prime Video put out to preview this fight really sort of showed us that Tank's in an interesting spot because last year he hit the highest of heights in knocking out Ryan Garcia in an April blockbuster and then does 44 days in a detention center for violating his probation. We know the lingering trail of things that have followed him outside the ring, but he's 29 now. So you're thinking now or never to step up to that level of maturity.
Right.
But then we've seen him bullying Frank Martin at an aggressive comedic level this week. Where do you actually think Tank's head is at? Because he does have a lot going on. Take the Floyd Mayweather thing out of it for a second. Yeah. He's got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, I think that's the hunger to get back in the ring. He had a nice layoff, so I think he's hungry to get back in the ring, and I think deep down inside, he knows just as well as you two guys know, because you guys are smarter than me. Frank gonna push him. Frank gonna push him. Frank is a guy who's strong. I really think that Tank's in Frank's head a little bit. Even when you flinch like that says a lot. I mean, I watch a lot of fights. You don't see too many boxers flinch when somebody jump at him.
It's funny. I see a lot of people who look like me saying, "Oh, that's not a big deal," but people that are real. People that have been in and out, have seen a little bit of the street life. They're like, no, that was a telling ass moment.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. You remember when Benavidez was fighting Bud Crawford? He was fighting him off. He just got shot in his knee.
Yeah, Jose Benavidez.
Bud swung at him and he weaved it, and in a heartbeat. Like if you can do that, you know what I'm saying? That's his Bud Crawford we talking about. Bud swung pretty hard. He really tried to hit him. He weaved that. You have to be on your game.
Well, also, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it Matt Barnes who put the ball in Kobe's face?
Yes.
And Kobe was just
No flinch.
The Mamba. So I mean, in that moment when you know, like, there's no flinching. You can't show no sign of that. But at the end of the day, they both got to go in there and fight. I do have Tank winning, but I think Frank is going to push him, with the layoff he's had.
I think Frank's going to make Tank have to not only knock him out, but like maybe knock him out cold to win the fight. Like, I feel like Frank is bringing the dog, knows this is his moment, has decided he is going to be as confident as he possibly can be, whether you feel like you've seen fear or maybe not ready for prime time yet.
Update on Gervonta Davis. He is now going back and forth with Oscar De La Hoya on Twitter. So that's fun.
This is great. This is fun. It adds flavor to a matchup.
Dude, some of these people, like, it's interesting. Like, you know this better than we do, certainly, but just covering athletes, I have seen some that like have to psych themselves up for the moment, and they can do it, but it's a process. And then I've seen others who cannot fucking wait for the lights to be on, because that's the only time actually that they can get themselves to that place. I don't know who Gervonta is. Seems like he's the latter. But I guess we're going to find out tomorrow, right? Because you're adding so much stress to this process.
Well, was it Jim Lampley who was crying yesterday and told us that, like,
he cries a lot,
so many fighters feel like they're only safe places in that ring?
Yeah.
Was it him who said that? I don't even remember.
I think that's right, yes.
All I know is that James Toney called Canelo a bitch, okay, to be very fair right there. I wanted to talk about David Benavidez.
Well, I can say this. The only time I was at peace is when I was playing basketball.
Even in big games?
Even in big games, because it got to the point where I don't even know. I don't even see them. Like, it could be a loud, I don't even know you here. You know what I'm saying? I'm so locked in and so happy to be here and love what I'm doing and want to win and competing so bad that I don't even know that this arena filled with 30,000 people.
So Mauro Ranallo used to say the same thing in that documentary, great documentary they did on Showtime, the bipolar rock and roller. He said, like, chaos in his life, but when the headphones are on, when he's doing what he's born to do, is the only time he feels safe, alive, valued. I to some degree, I can understand that too. David Benavidez is playing a big role in Saturday's PBC on Prime Video pay-per-view in the co-main event against Alexander Gvozdyk, moving up to 175 pounds. I got to find out, because you spent time with him in Miami, and he's a new man in Miami, it seems, right? Moved from Seattle, has the secondary home there in Miami, and has infiltrated himself into the lifestyle. But we've been impressed this week after talking to him by just how cool, calm, business-like, assassin mode he is, not going out of his way to disparage Canelo, even though we keep propping these questions up to him. But he's just focused on his business. And when we hear Jim Lampley telling us that one day could be the first, star crossover Mexican heavyweight champion, you got to really start thinking about what David Benavidez has put together and what his potential is. What did you learn from spending time with him, off camera, and really finding out who that man is deep inside?
Well, what a coach. How lucky are we to have him in the co-main, right? Him and Davis, that's like, we so lucky as boxing fans. I learned a lot. I learned that David Benavidez is a kid who is growing to be a man, but also who is learning how to be a professional and who's getting to the point where he's mastering his craft. David is one of the guys, especially since I've been shooting this show, he asks so many questions, and I've never seen a boxer ask so many questions. Like, we was in there with Roy Jones, and he was just so eager to learn. And when you have a guy at the level that David's at, a lot of guys thinking, okay, I've been boxing for so long, it's not too much I haven't seen in the ring. You know what I mean? I don't think David will ever be that way. I think he feel like it's always something that he can add to his game, whether it's footwork, whether it's whether it's moving, whether it's controlling the box, or taller box. Like, it's so much that he feel like he still has to learn in the game of boxing. And when you at the level he at, that is impressive to me. I got a chance to run with him. I was supposed to run 8 miles with him. I ran 4. I ran halfway.
I'm like, you're a 45-year-old man, right?
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
I could not run 8 miles, and David ran it like it was around the block, right?
Jesus.
So, and his work ethic, like we was talking about Kobe and all these other guys, like, he has that one of a kind, once in a lifetime work ethic. And it was a pleasure to see him in this camp working, get ready for this fight.
Also, like, you've seen these athletes too, right? True in any sport. There's certain times where you can see them begin to really elevate, and these are guys who, in practice, cross the T, dot their I's, like almost like going into a test knowing you have done all the homework, all the studying, everything. There's nothing you won't know about and not to say you know everything, but about that night,
right?
But that test, you already know. The confidence he had, it felt like he already knew. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly what I have to do. I know exactly the kind of energy and intensity I have to muster, and let's just go and do it. I'd never seen someone so dialed in on so many levels all at once.
Yeah, I mean, when a guy like that, when you show up to the fight, if anything goes wrong, you want to sit there and be able to say, I prepared. I did everything I was supposed to do for this fight. Even on the show, it's a guy from overseas that was there that wanted to spar with David. He gave David some work that was going to help him in his next fight. So David gave him a job and kept him around.
Damn.
So, that shows the type of person that David is. If he got somebody around that's going to make him better and keep him around, that shows a lot.
All right, let's talk about the intensity that you saw from him, because he's almost matter of fact when we sat down with him yesterday and relayed the story that Breadman Edwards told us about how Benavidez has been in camp before with the big light heavyweights who he's moving up and putting himself in position to face. Because remember, if he beats Gvozdyk on Saturday, we expect him, and so does Turki Al-Sheikh, to fight the winner of October's Bivol versus Better Bev Undisputed clash. But we find out that Benavidez has sparred before Bivol, Gvozdyk,
Triple G.
And like the report coming back was that he put it on them. He confirmed, but without being braggadocious, like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Did you see that ferocity come out?
When we talked about it, you saw the confidence in him. You can tell that he has some great experiences with those guys, and him moving up is not a problem to him. He knows he can bang with these guys. He knows he can get in there and win these fights. And I just love David because he's willing to fight everybody. And not only his confidence, but he wants to make the fights for the fans. He always talk about, I want to give the fans what they want to see. You don't have too many fighters saying that today. You know what I'm saying? A lot of fighters, I want to make sure it's a great fight for me. I want to make sure the money's right. He's doing stuff for the fans, and that's refreshing to hear that from a guy like me who's a true boxing fan.
Also, like, one thing I love about David's style, listen, I don't begrudge a fighter for fighting smart, because sometimes you got to do it. You got to get the dub and just get out. And I'm not saying he fights recklessly, but he has a square stance. We talked about with him yesterday, and he defended why he fights right in front of you like that. If it's a David Benavidez fight, it's going to be action.
Right.
He doesn't have any other gear. That's what he does.
Right.
There's no second game where he's slipping and rolling and turning, marching you down at all times in your face. It's just a matter of when the dam breaks, really.
Right. I love to see it, though.
Stack, I got to talk about your time with the OG Roy Jones on this first episode of Fight Towns. We have a clip to throw to. We'll be back on the other side.
Roy Jones Jr. Remember that name? Y'all must have forgot.
Bucket.
There we go.
Bucket.
Ice water.
Yeah, when you feel it, once you feel it, you get it. You know what I'm saying?
So dope. Me and Roy just got us some shots in. We're here checking in with David Benavidez. We want to pop up on him because he's a big fan of Roy Jones. He's getting ready for his fight coming up. Let's see what he got going on, man.
Oh, can I get some dollars from you?
Of course. We can call right now. You fighting Gvozdyk, right?
Yeah.
He's right-handed, right?
Yeah.
So what you want to do, you want to go this way. Yeah. You want to force him to go to his right.
Okay.
Because the comfortable way for him to move is to his left.
Yeah.
It's comfortable way for him, he comfortable like
Put
this.
him in this position.
Now you mess him up. Don't get too close, because you don't give him too much.
Yeah.
He'll pop attack out, get too close. What you want to do is keep this up. Keep that up on. You see what I'm saying? Keep that. You stopping him? Keep that up on. See that? Yeah. See that? Yeah. Nothing he can do now.
When I've been watching about you, I know that you do a leaping. Boom, and it comes from here, and then you go.
Exactly. But so where that goes is, when you go here, see the shoulder forward?
I met David Pops about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've been a fan of David. And I'm one of those guys where if I'm a fan of you, whatever you want, I want. I want to see him fight Canelo. He wants to fight Canelo. It's a few guys that in boxing that not only I'm just a fan of, but I really want to see them succeed. And David is one of them.
Stack, come here. So when he moving, now you go left, Stack, you move left. So you go back and away. You try to stay away from me. So if he come, I gotta come here. You know what I'm saying? He goes there, I gotta come here and cut that off. If he goes there, I gotta come here and cut that off. I can't never let him look down at my face. There you go. See that? Now, exactly. But now you got control of both of them. See that? You control of both of his hands now. That's had to fight. Exactly. Oh, I'm down. I'm happy to be here. I'm not scared. Yeah, I ain't scared of shit. I'm bigger than him, too. I got the size advantage against David. He came close to my mouth. I was worried for a second. I was real worried. I thought he was going to connect and I was going to...
Stack, it seems like Roy has not lost the alpha inside of him at all.
Not at all, and his passion to giving the game back to the youngsters is unreal. I think that's all he really talked about. When we told him we was going to the gym to see Benavidez, I think he lit up more than Benavidez. You know, he was excited, and I was super excited to get called into the ring. You know, if you watch the show, I kind of was feeling myself a little bit because I had my hands up and I was moving, and David stuck his hand out and kind of knocked his hand down. Like, hold on, I'm feeling myself a little bit too much. I was having too much fun in that ring. But Roy Jones, I just from me watching, I was watching the footwork, just the little things he was teaching David. It shows that like not lifting weights and just like the one step that he showed David and throwing the hook made all the difference in the world. So it's like it's really like we say the fundamentals. The fundamentals in boxing are the same way.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's you got guys like David that's really done everything in boxing, but Roy was telling him just little things, fundamental things to add to his game that he was wowed by. You know what I'm saying? The things that he probably could have learned, you know, at a young age, but Roy's still teaching him those things. So it was good to see Roy give the game back to David and David accepted as well.
Roy's you know, it's interesting, right? Because like he broke all the rules when he played. You know what I mean?
Talking about one of one.
Yeah,
no hands up.
Yeah,
nothing.
and yet you can see like encyclopedic knowledge of what comes with boxing. Right. I guess he doesn't have the time to train, but he certainly got the brain power to share some wisdom. Incredible.
He say he still trains. He say with his dogs, his feet. He say his feet be killing him.
Yeah.
I mean, he fought till he was 50, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, it's incredible. Stack, I got it because you're a basketball guy, and we are in the midst of the finals. I know.
I'm so dismayed by how it's going, though.
So I'm a Celtics fan, so I'm allowed to say this. Does Doncic need to man up and stop being a bitch?
Well, I just, you know, let's just give credit when credit is due. They're playing against the better team, and that's what it all boils down to. What's up, everybody out there in the world?
They love Stack 5 at the win. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're not here for you and me.
Hey, I think they want to dress like this. That's what I think.
It's the shirt.
What I mean?
It's definitely the shirt. They playing against a better team, man. That's what it all boils down to. Yes, they was able to get out of the Western Conference. They played well against those teams. But Boston is the most seasoned team in the NBA and the most seasoned team in the playoffs. You got to think, Boston has been to the finals and lost. Boston has been to the East Conference Finals, 3 out of the last 4 years. So this team has everything they need to win a championship. So if they didn't win it this year, it was going to be a bad look for Boston because you don't get that opportunity all the time. This was their year to win it and their season that moment. They are the better team all the way around. They're played 7 deep. You have 2 guys you have to worry about with the Dallas Mavericks. On Boston side, you got to worry about 7 guys. Right, you can double 2 guys in Dallas. You can't double anybody in Boston, and they're showing you have to just not. It's not really just Kyrie getting D'd up, missing shots. It's not Luka just arguing with the referees and missing shots.
We're not playing defense.
It's Boston, the better team.
They're so balanced.
That's what people need to say. People are trying to say Luka's off, Kyrie's off. Boston is just the better team, and that's why they're winning by large amounts.
Deal with that, I guess is what he's saying.
Man, fuck you.
I got one moment in life. Come on, you know what I mean?
I'm rooting for Kyrie and Luka myself. I said Dallas was going to win it. I said I wanted Dallas to win, but I knew Boston.
Yes.
This is their opportunity.
Do you think is it going to be a sweep?
I think you can pull the brooms out.
Fucking A.
I mean, in order for the series to go on, Luka and Kyrie going to have mega games at the same time. But they're still not beating Boston 4 times in a row.
I think the third leading scorer for the last game heading into the fourth quarter had like 6 points for Dallas.
Yeah.
Like you just can't win doing that. No. You just can't.
Luke and I have come to terms, we don't agree on much, but we come to terms and agree that in the 2008 finals, which is apropos of the last time the Celtics won the championship, that when Paul Pierce got into the wheelchair, it was because he shit his pants. Can you confirm or deny that rumor?
We all thought that. The whole world thought that. I think he tried. I think he cleared it up. He said He said he did ask them to pull the wheelchair. He said they did that. They did that on his own. He said I don't believe it. I don't know. He might have sharded.
Deathbed reveal one day coming from that guy.
He might have had a shard.
Lucas said this many times. He just wants to make it okay again to shit your pants. It's not a big deal.
I don't care if it's okay. I'm just gonna do it.
It's not okay, but sometimes you might not be able to hold it. You know.
There it is. Whoomp, there it is. Stack, we could not have enjoyed this more. All the smoke fight, the new Combat Sports vertical, the same old flavor that you love from the Showtime boxing days is back. Us back together. Can't wait to see the continuation of Fight Towns, our coverage on the road to the biggest events.
We're back.
And everything that we're all adding together. Thank you for joining us.
All the Smoke podcast as well. Go get your All the Smoke podcast. And your anillos.
Oh, yeah.
The mezcal.
Have you had it yet?
Yes, I did.
How'd you like it?
It's incredible.
Okay, I wanted you guys.
I think I need a bottle of that. I need.
Oh, don't say less. Say less. Whatever you guys
Is that
need,
Spanish
you know,
for get fucked?
Rings.
Thank you, Stack. We are now going to throw to our sit-down with David Benavidez yesterday from Radio Row. And on the other side, more UFC news breakdown, boxing, the Sphere, so much more. Be right back. El Monstro is here, David.
Monstro?
I think that I'm trying my best to get that flavor.
No, I'm making fun of him.
Because, you know, I speak gringo. So how should I say it, David Benavidez? You put that...
Yeah, we got to hear you. There it is.
There we go.
With the fresh fade and everything.
Yeah.
I was going to say the best super middleweight in the world just walked in right here, right? But he's going up to...
I still am the best super middleweight in the world.
He's going up to 175.
What's your walk-around weight, right, if you can?
Like 230, 240.
Jesus.
No, I'm sorry. I'm playing with you. No, like 200 pounds.
200 pounds, okay.
Okay, I don't want to stress the Canelo topic or pin you down, but I think we got to get through it, okay?
Yeah.
Are you done carrying and or chasing and or potentially cutting your body to potential to 168 to fight that man? Where are you at in your headspace on that thing that we can't stop talking about?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, I did everything in my power possible to make that fight happen. I beat the fighters that they told me I couldn't beat, and I was #1 contender for the past 3 years. But I had my hands tied. You know, I did everything in my power possible to make it happen. The only reason this fight is not happening because Canelo doesn't want it to happen, because he knows damn well that once he faces me, I'm taking all those titles home with me.
Is there any part of you that's saying, well, he's just trying to raise the price tag? Saudi Arabia is here, and that's changing things.
You know what I mean? I can't keep thinking about what he's doing, what his strategy is. I've done my job. I've done my job perfectly, and I think it will happen. I just don't know when. I think this is too big of a fight to leave on the table like that, and you know, everybody wants to see this fight, and I want to be in this fight included. You know what I mean? I want to show the people I am the best in the world, but I don't know when it's going to happen.
All right, final question for me on this. James Toney sat in that chair and called Canelo a bitch to the camera. You seem to still keep a very business-like level head. You're not out there saying, Canelo, what do I have to do, piss on your lawn? You're just sort of like, all right, you don't want the smoke? I'm making my own name here. Was there a moment that changed, or was it always sort of the way where it's like, I don't need him to define my career?
Yeah, it's always been like that. Since I was a little kid, I never had that thought in my head like, oh, I want to face Canelo. My main objective is to become the best at whatever weight class I'm in. And I was trying to do that at 168. I was trying to unify the titles, but I didn't get that opportunity. So I came up to 175. Now this fight is going to put me in position to fight for all the titles at 175, and I'm going to continue being dominant force in whatever weight class I'm in.
Who wins when Beterbiev and Bivol finally square off?
I'm leaning more towards Bivol, but I can't say because they're both great fighters. So it's a 50-50 fight.
But you lean Bivol. Tell me why you at least lean that direction.
Because he's a hard puncher and he's a boxer. Meaning he moves around a lot. As you can see, Beterbiev, he had a hard time with Alexander Gvozdyk. And Gvozdyk was boxing, but his punching power is not like Bivol's. So I think for that reason, he's going to have his hands full of Bivol, and that's why I'm leaning towards Bivol.
I got to jump in and ask you something, because there was a man in this chair earlier, Stephen Breadman Edwards, who we love, who said, I'm not breaking any news here. This is knowledge that David Benavidez fought all these light heavyweights in sparring before, and it kind of put it on them, warned them out.
I put it on all of them, on all of them, and they know that too. But I'm not showing no disrespect. They're all great fighters, and I know I have to come 100% prepared for each one of them, because all these guys are beasts.
Is there an expiration date in terms of how, you can't make 168 anymore?
No, I can make 168, but for what?
For what? Right.
For what?
Just the opportunity.
Yeah, just the opportunity. I could definitely make 168, but that's why this fight is perfect. It was a perfect time to come up to 175 because I did everything in my power possible to fight for all the belts. But because that's not given to me, now I get to test my skills at 175.
Could I talk about how you developed your style? Because obviously you're extremely effective. You walk people down. And I'm not here to in any way honor the haters that you see online. But one of the things people bring up is you have a squared stance at all times. But it completely works for you.
If you take a look at the square stance, that's an art that not everybody could perfect.
Okay.
Julio Cesar Chavez did it to perfection. That means you're basically ambidextrous.
Yes.
What is it?
Sure.
You use
right.
both hands.
Yeah,
you could use the lefty stance, or you could use the orthodox stance. So if you know how to use it, if you're comfortable, you see me in all my fights, I've used it pretty well. And the people that are complaining about that, because they don't know how to do that.
Did you develop that style despite coaches telling you to stop, or were you encouraged to do that?
My dad never told me to stop. My dad, first of all, we'd work on the jab, opening them up, and then once we get them to the corners, then you start to pick. But boxing is you have to pull tricks out of your hat, meaning that you have to touch here, you have to touch there, you have to be really unpredictable. And how is it to be the most unpredictable? Change from lefty to righty. And that's what we've been doing our whole career, and it's been working for us a lot. And you know, and I feel good and happy that I'm part of the few that could actually do that type of style, because that style does not work for everybody.
All right, we saw members of your team vaping before, and that Luke got all fired up because he's like vapors.
There were some vapors over there.
He's like, vaping is for closers. At this point in your career, when you're making weight, championship weight, could there be nothing? No sugar, no cookies, no nothing? Like, where are you at in that Spartan lifestyle where you can't even let anything in from the outside?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to be that type of person, be like, you can't do this. They're grown men. They do whatever the heck they want to do. But for me, I take my job serious. Strictly water, no sugar, good protein, fish, chicken, salad, lots of tomatoes, and you know, yeah, we try to keep it as clean as possible.
Hey, when did you? It seems like I'm just from the outside looking in that you and your family like fell in love with Miami. When did that happen? How did that happen?
I've always been in love with Miami. Miami is a beautiful place. You guys been?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful.
He loves these thing called BBLs. I don't know if you heard this before. He loves them. I mean, it's great, right? Yeah.
My wife's from South America. He never stops bringing it up. But no, in all seriousness, when did that happen?
I've always visited Miami, and because I have family that lives there, but I just bought a condo out there, and yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It's the capital of Latin America, is it not?
Yeah, and you know what, Miami, when I went out there, I didn't really think I was going to get noticed like that, but people love boxing out there. Everywhere I go, people notice me, and it just feels like there's a lot of opportunity in Miami. I don't know, it just feels like, I don't know, there's just something different. When I went there, Roy Jones went, Rigondeaux went, Andre Durrell, a whole lot of fighters
Mike Hoppinger?
went. Yeah, Mike Hoppinger went.
Ugas is out there?
Ugas is out there. I didn't see him when I was there, but he's out there as well. And, yeah, it's just a good environment. And, you know, everybody's motivated and everybody's pumped up over there.
So, I will say this, though. Miami, very showy. You have to, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's got nice cars. Everyone's got, like.
He's pretty showy, too. He's
I was going to say,
yeah.
I saw the car in.
How to fit in.
Dude, that car, the one that's metallic looking.
The gold one.
How did you get that?
Well, I bought it from the dealership, and then I wrapped it gold.
Oh, that thing is amazing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Wow. All right, I got to ask you about Alexander Gvozdyk, your opponent on Saturday. I got a lot of respect for him. He's 37 now, though, 3-0 on this comeback. What is the real challenge that he brings to the table for you on Saturday?
You know, he's a very decorated fighter, decorated amateur, great ex-world champion. His only loss was to Benavidez, but he actually knocked out Adonis Steven, one of the most fierce light heavyweight champions in recent memory. So I'm definitely come 100% prepared for this guy. I know what he could do, but I know his strengths, I know his weaknesses. But this is the challenge that I wanted to take, and I wanted to show everybody that I am the best in the world.
Do you think that this one, any chance this one goes the distance?
No, hell no. I'm going to knock out Alexander Gvozdyk. You can mark my words, and I want to steal the show. You know, I mean, I know I got stiff competition, and Gervonta Davis and Frank Markin are going to duke it out, but by the time this event is over, this is going to be the David Benavidez show.
You seem to be one of the more beloved fighters of Turki Al-Sheikh of Saudi Arabia, that he seems to have his favorites, and he mentions you a lot. Yeah. Is there a budding friendship and relationship?
He's a great guy. You know, he's shown me a lot of support. He's a great guy, and we definitely, me, Al Heyman, Luis Cubas, we would love to do business with him.
When you think about where you are in, I don't know, 3 years, what does that look like in your mind? What have you accomplished?
Definitely unified world champion, I think, at 168 and 175. You know, when I was a little kid, I thought it was going to be impossible to even win one belt. I got 3 of them now, and now that I know I could accomplish greatness, I'm just reaching for the stars now.
Do you think you can get to the #1 spot? I mean, we got Inoue, we've got Usyk, we've got Crawford kind of in that space now.
Yeah, that's my dream. That's what I envision in my head, and that's exactly what I'm going to manifest into my life.
Wow.
I can't wait.
I'm feeling the aura, the energy. He's ready, he's dialed in, he's focused. David Benavidez, El Monstro, the monster, is back. Closing comment, though, because Mike Tyson gave you that nickname, and Mike Tyson's going to box Jake Paul. Do you want your friend Mike to do that? I know you want him to cash the check. We all do.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a nice check, probably.
Is it a bad idea or what?
Mike Tyson's Mike Tyson. You know, if Mike Tyson asking, if you're telling Mike Tyson, Mike, is going to be a bad idea you face Jake Paul, he'll probably slap you.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, we just want everything to go right. You know, it's a good fight. Mike Tyson still got the fire in him, but Jake Paul is a tough opponent for him too. So I'm sure it's going to be a good fight.
Big audience on Netflix.
Yeah,
we'll see. David Benavidez, thank you. Best of luck
to you
on
nice
Saturday.
To see you. Can't wait for the fight.
Yes,
always a pleasure to
Thank
chat
you,
with you. Maybe the best 168er in the world.
And there you have it.
El Monstro himself.
Monstro.
I got it.
Okay.
El Monstro. Hey, Luke, we have partnered with many great people. One of those, of course, is DraftKings and the DraftKings Sportsbook. I want to remind you of this fantastic offer for new customers heading into this weekend, whether you want to bet on UFC Fight Night, how about Tank versus Frank and the PBC on Prime Video pay-per-view, whatever you got. Here's what you need to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. We're going to use our promo code MK. Put $5 down on any bet this weekend, and Luke, you receive $150 in bonus bets instantly.
That many? That much?
So you put $5 down on Tank, KO1 maybe. That's been a hot bet this week.
Yeah.
You're talking about $150 in bonus bets instantly, but only if you use our promo code.
MK. So here's your deal. New customers, as he just indicated, DraftKings Sportsbook app, use our promo code MK, put $5 down, you get $150 in bonus bets to play with. BC, that's not just an up or down, hey, is Tank going to win, blah, blah, blah. You can put parlays together with that, any kind of different combination. Just go get in on the action. You know why?
Because the crown, put the camera on me. The crown is yours. That's what I'm talking about. DraftKings right there. Use our code M to the K. Indeed. All right. We put that behind us, Luke. We wanted to get back into how we started this show. So much going on in the UFC, really an unprecedented level. So UFC 303 here in Las Vegas, International Fight Week, June 29, will still happen. No Conor McGregor. We talked about the replacements. Look, is there anything lingering you want to hit on this? I mean, we love the replacement fights, first of all. That's box office.
Let's get back to UFC if we can. Let me just ask you, right, because there's some things I've been thinking about. Hey, can we switch the back? I guess we can leave it. I don't know if it really matters. Whatever. Hey, there we go. I do love Stack, I'm just saying. Is UFC 303 now a better card?
Yes.
Now, hold on.
That's an honest statement.
What you have to factor in, excuse me, is you're getting, I think, on paper, a better fight card. But with the short notice, are you still getting a better fight card?
I mean, that's the question. How will this affect Alex Pereira? And how delicate is this walk he's doing right now of going in there in the second division and just knocking out killer after killer? I mean, it's been unprecedented just in his own arc, the way he's wiggled. But now we're going to ask a lot of him. Remind you, I mean, he has so little, what is he, under 10 UFC fights still, but the last, 5 or 6 have been monster headlining. We're talking about MSG. We're talking about UFC 300. Now we're talking about International Fight Week here. I hope that doesn't affect him. But when we talked about the advanced age, he does have a smaller window than most to get that done. And boy, is he taking advantage of it. But is everybody healthy? Is everybody full on camp? I mean, we only saw Pereira 2 months ago, Luke. Is Yuri fully healthy and ready? I mean, they're healthy enough to take the bag here. Will that affect? Will any of that short notice give anyone an advantage? How do we look at that?
Again, so here's my view of this as the main and the co-main. Those are action fights no matter what. Diego Lopez and Brian Ortega, it wouldn't matter if they had 5 minutes, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years notice. It's going to be 2 cats in a bag, right? So that's just the reality. The question is, can you double check to see if that's, I'll look here in a minute. I don't know if it's 5 rounds or not. I'm going to guess it's not. I'm going to guess that's going to be for 3. Still, they're going to have active scrambles. I don't see how that one goes the distance, although one never knows.
This fight might make Diego Lopez a star, right?
The question you have to ask yourself is more in the main event. That's an action fight too. Like Yuri doesn't fight any other way. Nevertheless, might there be more of an additional sprint off the top, knowing if you're either guy, you probably don't want that fight going to the 4th and 5th round if you can at all avoid it, given how little time is you got to get your cardio where it needs to be, and to what extent does that change the fight? So my belief is, again, the later a fight is put together, the more in general you are taking away from it. At the same time, these 2 individual matchups are already action fights, irrespective of what booking context in which you make them. I wonder if it just dials up the intensity even more, given what they're up against.
You're right. It's going to be spectacular, and if it does improve the card, which overall, top to bottom, it kind of really does. So, Luke, before we get back into Robert Whittaker's new opponent, and
also, may I say something about
hell of a great fight?
Can I say something about the Carlos Ulberg fight too?
Oh, please. Oh, yeah. So add that in. Anthony Smith, right?
So yeah, it's Anthony Smith. I got to tell you, I like this fight more than the Jamal Hill fight because
we went from Roundtree Hill, to Hill Ulberg,
and now Ulberg Smith. And the reason why I like it is, first of all, Smith just got the guillotine win over Vitor Petrino, who fought not intelligently and paid for it by getting choked out in the first round. It shows you if you give him something, Anthony Smith still has a little bit of trickery left in his game. Olberg, I don't know, has like the best jiu-jitsu, but if he keeps it standing, that's a different ballgame. I'm simply saying the reason I like it is it's a different fight than the Hill fight. It's going to test different parts about his game, and if he wins, he might get a title shot from it, but it's certainly no guarantee. It's a little bit more of a iterative step than a huge leap that the Jamal Hill fight would have been by virtue of the ranking position that they came from. I actually like this one. It's a little bit more of a modest, incremental step up.
Yeah,
that you want to say, and it's a particular step up of his fight IQ in keeping this fight probably at range and what he can do with it. I like this a lot better than the other one.
I don't disagree with that. Olberg and Diego Lopez, who has a bigger opportunity to this International
Lopez.
Fight Week. So
Diego Lopez.
To double down on their star
Brian
power.
Ortega is currently ranked number 3 in the division. Diego Lopez is ranked 14. You just rarely ever see somebody ranked number 3 coming off of a big win over Yair Rodriguez in this particular case. But how many times do you see someone at number 3 giving a shot to someone at number 14? It rarely happens. You're getting that here. So Diego Lopez can go warp speed to the top of the division. However, let's think about this for a second. We don't know if Max and Ilya are fighting next, but they probably are. We don't know when. And then Volk is kind of hanging out there. Does the winner of this fight get Volk? Does Volk take the winner of this fight? Does he wait until he gets the winner of... And by the way, if Holloway wins, are they going to do Holloway-Volk? So if you're Diego Lopez, there's a little bit of a blockade at the top of this division if he wins.
Sure.
Brian Ortega too, where I don't know if they get a title shot right from it, but man, you're going to be in a great position.
It is wild when UFC makes these late substitutions, and look, this is their reputation now. They're able to do it. They're on the top of the hill, and they are able to put a big Band-Aid on and keep the show on the road. It might have improved the card overall. You give them that credit, no question about it. But Luke, I actually thought it would have been O'Malley versus Merab, and maybe that was talked about. I don't know. But when we were looking at who's possibly available and the timelines, if that one would have substituted in, would that have made this bigger? Maybe, but I kind of really love this Prochazka Pereira rematch. The more I really look at it, you're talking about the guaranteed fireworks, I love it. So I'm all in on where they landed and how they fixed it. At least
for a 2-week replacement, you'll just never see anything better in MMA. You can be mad at how we got here,
sure.
But now that we're here, given what we were promised and now what you got, no one else in combat sports could do this.
So you're like, honey, I know the labor pains were horrific, but the baby's here. Can we just focus on that? That's really
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, look, the UFC has constructed a model where they can develop this next man up kind of thing. And if you deprive people of the salaries that they normally earn, but then give them big bags for opportunities, this is how the whole thing works.
All right, close the McGregor conversation for me. Does he fight in the fall?
I'll say yes. I think he does one more time. Beyond that, it's really hard to say. And I want to be clear about something, too. We don't know. Let's assume it's an injury, as we've been told. We don't know what injury it is. If it's a cut, is it related to the leg? Is it related to something of an imbalance that the leg created?
You seem so chill with the fact that we don't know. We shouldn't know. It's not our business. It's just,
weird. Give me the my issue is this. They dragged it out unnecessarily. So keeping part of it secret, I'm less bothered by. I'm more bothered by the duration of time at which they twiddled their thumbs.
I get it.
And again, I was trying to figure out what orthopedic injury takes this long. Dude, the initial assessment that they probably couldn't do it was fucking correct. This is what I mean. They know fast. It doesn't take a long time to figure this shit out. That's the part that kind of gets me. But keeping their cards close to the vest in a shorter window, I'm less bothered by.
All right, and they did save, of course, when we're talking about the UFC Saudi Arabia debut card, which is next weekend. Robert Whittaker not going to be facing Khamzat Chimaev, but is Ikram Aliskerov, who takes the opportunistic opportunity. And really, we're talking about
opportunistic opportunity.
You love that when you can combine that shit in the same sentence. What I'm saying here is we talk about what Diego Lopez can do in doubling down on his star power. This is a step. We thought DDP stepping up to Robert Whittaker 2 fights ago was is this going to be a bridge too far? How ready is Aliskerov for this level of smoke? His only loss to Khamzat Chimaev in his career. The finishing streak is incredible of knockouts. He's a freight train coming, Luke.
Yeah. He's never fought anybody like this. I mean, there's just no denying. So the good news for Aliskerov is he was supposed to be fighting this weekend, I believe. They're just pushing him back a week. So in that sense, he has a full camp. It's short notice, but a full camp short notice. So that's a great thing. So both guys are coming in with a fair amount of, good prep, but unknowns. Huge, huge moment first for Whitaker, because if he wants to get back to the title, and he's been pretty explicit, that's what he wants, no room for fucking error. And he is taking on a very, very tough assignment, a very different one than Khamzat. Khamzat gets shot out of a cannon and, kind of fades down the stretch. Alaskarov does not, but I would argue, I'm going to say, it's hard to say if he's more well-rounded. His game is a little bit more balanced, but different. So he's got more of a traditional Sambo style where he's got trips, throws, foot sweeps, that kind of a thing. We saw a big bruiser in DDP take him down.
They were kids. They were young children. I was just waving.
Did you wink at a little child?
Well, what am I going to do? They were waving. I was like, hey, I didn't want to distract you and raise my hand. What
any real man does.
I'm not going to apply to be the defensive coordinator at Penn State after that or anything, if that's what you're concerned. Right?
So the point I'm trying to make is this, BC. If you're Robert Whitaker, no room for error. We saw the big physical takedown passing style of DDP give him real problems. Alaskarov is a real threat in that sense. He's got a fantastic Kimura. He goes to mount, the whole bit. So that's what I would say on his end. On the Alaskarov side, I think he's playing with house money. Yeah. He is getting warp sped.
ABC, by the way, ABC primetime, right? In the afternoon.
That's right.
Early primetime.
That's right. And if you're Alaskarov, if you lose against Whitaker, okay, fine. You can go back to fighting sort of more middle-of-the-road guys at middleweight, and he can beat those guys too. But if you beat Whitaker, you're going to go warp speed to the front of that division, probably get a title shot relatively soon thereafter. However, that's a very, very difficult guy to solve.
That's why it gets exciting when the UFC is able to save face, and they did it. They made the lemonade. Then people get to cut the line. Then chaos ensues. That is fun. That is fun to see that fall
And
off.
you can reorder the whole table of things like that in a single instant. For Alaskarov, it would have taken him probably a little bit longer. Middleweight's a little bit easier to push through, but it would have taken him a lot longer. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a Robert Whitaker main event for the UFC's debut in a new coveted market in Saudi Arabia, as you mentioned, primetime on ABC. This is an enormous opportunity. It's a much more difficult one, but a much more enriching one if you're Alaskarov. To me, it's the Whitaker side that I'm really kind of paying attention to. He is also taking on enormous risk here for what could be a disaster if he doesn't win. Could be a disaster.
It's going to be exciting to see the fallout of that. So at the very least, can't wait to see what UFC has done to keep that going and keep that alive. Luke, this Saturday we have a UFC Fight Night card from the Apex. I didn't know that if anyone was super excited about this, but then Floyd Mayweather was tweeting that, you should probably tune into this and that it's live right now. I mean, that was a little bit weird. It is what it is, Luke, but what's the biggest gold we should look for?
Well, so we had a Joshua Van versus Ulan, what's his last name? I can never pronounce it. Ulanbekov. The Tagir Ulanbekov fight is now off. So Josh Van, one of these great up-and-comers, he was supposed to take on Tagir Ulanbekov. It fell out because he missed weight Bekov by like 4 pounds, something fucking absurd. He's nearly at the next weight class. It's a flyweight fight. So we lost that one. That was a big gem on this card, unfortunately. And the rest of it is not that great. Adam Fugit is on this one, or Fugit, however you pronounce his name.
The delicacy and care that you show to the Cacereses of the world, and then you're like, fuck it, it's Fugit, whatever you want.
Okay, I'm just doing some jokes. The main event is still great. Alex Perez taking on Tatsuro Taira is a phenomenal contest. This one to me is really going to come down to who's initiating the grappling sequences and then winning the scrambles is going to be a big part of it. Taira, very good about mount, very good about back, kind of fights long distance, not an in-the-pocket kind of boxer typically. And Perez has a sort of wrestling background, very, very good scrambles. But you can recall against Pantoja, I believe, he was very good about getting behind him just to create back exposure, and then he was able to get it. I wonder if Taira can do that. Taira, one of the very top prospects. Interesting moment in Japanese MMA, where you guys may not appreciate this, but back in the late 2000s, Japan and Brazil were both like equal powerhouses, not in terms of filling out all the weight classes. Obviously, Brazil could fill out heavyweight a little bit more, but Japan was a factory of MMA fighters. They were relevant just by virtue of how many fighters were coming out of the scene. And then after what was called the Kakutogi boom, which was this big boom in Pride and K1 and pro wrestling.
I think I saw an adult film named that one time. No, we're not. All right. Well,
if I had HIV and a squirt gun, I would shoot you in the face.
Too far. That is too far.
All right. But the point I wanted to make was they faded after the balloon or the bubble popped. The scene really contracted. I know there was Dream, there was Sengoku, but it majorly contracted. You're now starting to see a change in things. The Rei Suruyas, the Tetsuro Tairas, and many other ones coming out of Japan. Really kind of an interesting moment. And BC, this kid, 15-0, is at the front of the pack. Tough fight for him. I know folks are like, oh, it's not a great main event. You're right. It's not a great main event. It's a great fight, though, and a great test of somebody in Taira who I think has a very, very promising future. Not even if he loses, but definitely if he wins.
I appreciate how you educated me and the audience about there are a few things to find on there. Not a lot of Wikipedia pages.
The thing about these Apex cards that you have to admit is the UFC has so many resources that even of their bottom of the barrel product, there's always going to be a couple of gems. Here's the problem for us. We are now at a place where the way content works that we have to make for audiences, you have to factor in how much the audience cares. Hardcores definitely care about this. The wider watching MMA public does not care about Apex shows. They don't produce traffic. There's no response. It's a dead zone. And so it ends up influencing how we cover them, unfortunately, because there are other things that could be great. Now, that being said, there's also a lot of fights on this card that I would not consider UFC level worthy. So there's a lot of filler in there too, and that's part of the story. But are there gems on these Apex cards? Yes. Yes, there are. Appreciate them for what they are, even if they're on not the biggest card per se.
I appreciate your appreciation level. Also, Luke, we saw PFL was back Thursday night, last night in Connecticut, by the way, with a PFL 4 card. I was going to ask you your legitimate biggest takeaway from the results that happened. By the way, Maheta got knocked out. I don't love to see that.
No, here's my takeaway. But nobody watches the PFL. There's my takeaway.
Well, they will now after we show this clip because this is look. We respond to so many wacky because MMA produces wacky clips that are just anytime a family member walks in and they're in north-south position, you have to explain yourself. MMA produces wacky clips. This highlight that came out of the PFL last night of this foul double knockdown is, I think, the most incredible video I've ever seen in MMA history. Let's see it right now. That's so MK. That's so MK.
That's so PFL.
It used to be so Bellator, right? To have a double stick kick moment and a main event.
Bellator heavyweight main event was basically two guys. Instead of power slap, it was ball kick.
Well, this wasn't the main event.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying that, but that was the what was his name? Eric Pringle, remember him?
Yes.
Just getting lit up in the balls like it was no one's business.
Well, that was Timothy Johnson who got hit in the Johnson, Luke. Remember when he fought Fedor in Moscow that time? And that was his opponent, Danilo Marquez. But in the main event, you don't really want to talk about Linton Vassell getting a split decision over Valentin Moldavsky, do you?
Who gives a shit?
Do you care about Dakota Ditcheva?
Yes, she's interesting. Dude, she looked like a dynamo up against the fence. Did you see her finish?
I did.
Drilling her opponent to the body.
Ariel's a big cheerleader on her, and it's brought attention that she can fight.
No, she's good. Again, it's the same with the Apex. Are there gems on the PFL roster? Absolutely, and Dakota Ditcheva, however you pronounce her last name, she is certainly one of them. She did great work against the fence yesterday. I loved how she finished her opponent off at angles when finally she hit her to the body with a knee and then began to work the hands. Oh, dude, it was so nice. Loved it.
You gonna get fired up for the PFL playoffs? Like remember last year where it's like whether you're in or you're out.
Literally
on the PFL,
nobody is fired up about the PFL.
Well, here's what I have to say, and we've had our criticisms of where the PFL's at this year after the big bold announcement that they're coming on and they're competing and all of that. Normally, there's like, okay, maybe I'm not in on most of the divisions, but there's a storyline involving Kayla Harrison that's interesting, and there's a storyline involving Brendan Loughnane and this and that.
No.
Is there any of those storylines yet?
No, dude, PFL doesn't. Look at me. I'm not even trying to be a dick. I'm being dead honest. PFL doesn't have a fan base, and this tournament system is not going to create one. Like, they've got to fucking stop.
Can't they just reset and take people like Patchy Mix, AJ McKee, and just push them to the forefront and just say, we have two of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet right now, and here they are, rather than putting them on Bellator in Europe. You know what I mean? On like random cards.
There's so much that could be different. Remember, they want to have a Champions League model where PFL MENA fights PFL Europe, fights whatever. It doesn't make any sense. This tournament system is a waste of everyone's time. They could do a little bit of tournament work per season or per amount of time calendar year, but building a product around it while trying to build a Bellator brand, while trying to build a PFL Europe brand, it makes zero fucking sense. And they're going to go out of business. But
every
it's just
time
a
I
matter
wink
of time.
at one of the people outside, you get very uncomfortable. That look you give me
because it's weird when I give you analysis and you here's all I see from you. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm just connecting with the people, like those people.
Why don't you connect with the guy you do a show with, asswipe? How about that?
Wow, let's connect on a heart level. Luke, it's an interesting transition for topic number 5 because we connected on a very deep, cosmic, almost alien level last night when you paid off the ultimate bet, the OK bet, MK bet from 2023 when we went head-to-head on picks for the whole year, and no one thought that a guy who represents hashtag Team Vibes could somehow pull it out. But, Luke, I've pulled it out in public before, and I'll do it again. Luke Thomas, your task last night was to pay that off of going to a concert that you definitely didn't want to go to. If I would have lost, I would have had to Viking row in the crowd to see the closer after Cannibal Corpse was there. But no, we didn't do that. We did Dead and Company. But I have to say, Luke, I didn't do you dirty. One, I didn't get upset that you left early, and we'll talk about that. Two, it was at the Sphere. So we're talking about whether you care about the Dead or the music, or there's people that were there that were not even involved in the music. They're just involved with the atmosphere. And whether you are deep talking to aliens on another level or they're sober on caffeine, it was an experience within the experience within the experience. I want to get first and foremost, since you agreed to it, since you walked in, and shout out to Oteil Burbridge, the legendary bassist of Dead and Company, for his hospitality and welcoming us in. And we got to spend some time with him. But Luke, you had to go where you don't go. A lot of like smelly white people getting together.
A lot of unshowered whites at the Sphere yesterday.
How rough was it? How would you sum up your experience for as long as it lasted?
Yeah. So here's what I would say. There's different parts to the experience. As for the music, I found it inoffensive. I thought I was going to like make my skin crawl. It didn't make my skin crawl.
But I will say, when the jams heated up, the opening tracks were very tame compared to where it went. Do you know what I mean?
All of the music is tame. There's nothing about the music that's not tame.
Dude, it heated up. I mean, there were moments in Althea where I was, Dale Sr. in turn 4 trying to keep it together.
You were on row 8.5. I mean, let's be honest.
888, yes. I think, was the Delta designation.
So let me say this. So there's different parts to the experience. Here is my understanding of Grateful Dead music. It's basically gospel for secular whites. That's who it's for.
That is, I'd like to.
That's who it's for, because you see these guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, because they all got their phones because it's the Sphere, but they're all just kind of waving, and everyone's putting their hands in the air. It's like revival music, turn of the century. It's gospel for people who don't believe in God. Basically, is really what it is.
It's just for people who enjoy love, I think.
It's a certain kind of passive, tantric almost experience that goes with it. But I didn't find it very offensive. I found it boring, the music, but not offensive. Let me say that.
Bob Ware's old as shit, but he brought it by the end.
They had Old Man River on the fucking guitar yesterday, and I was like, this guy's life expectancy is Sunday.
Okay.
Someone around me, it wasn't you or me, but someone around me was like, yo, put this guy out to pasture. I was like, what?
Okay.
I mean, what are we doing here, fella? Okay, so let me say that. The Sphere. Holy fucking shit.
Dude.
I don't have the words, BC. And
I don't have the words. The only words I can tell you is that the day my kids were born, the night I married my beautiful wife, are, the clubhouse leaders in the greatest nights of my life. I'm not doing a bit here. I'm not trying to over-sensationalize, even though I'm wearing these obscene pants right now. Last night was among the greatest nights of my life. Because
I understand
when you merge a band that you love with a friendship experience that we had with Oteil, and then you're in the freaking Sphere, which is not a 10 out of 10. It's like a 10,000 out of 10 in terms of what my expectations were.
It's dude, and honestly, I could have stayed for the whole show. If I'm being dead serious, I have a lot of problems sleeping these days. I'm on drugs to try and sleep. I cannot go to sleep naturally.
Drugs is a recurring theme in your life right now.
I know. Well, these ones are doctor prescribed. So I didn't get sleep the night before, and I was like on fumes, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I agreed to sit there for basically an hour, and then I left. But the Sphere itself is, however cool it looks on Instagram or TikTok, it's 10 billion times cooler than that. And I can't overstate this. We were in the 300 section.
Sure.
So we were on the 6th floor. I don't know how the math works, but that's where we were. Good seats, by the way. By the way, not a fucking bad seat.
There is not
in the house.
Maybe if you were lower underneath the overhang in the general mission, maybe.
But if you're in the stands, like you're in the middle of the stands, trust me when I tell you, you're not missing anything. I cannot overstate this. The Sphere, in terms of the graphics, it doesn't just go right in front of you. It goes well past your line of vision here and well past your line of vision when you look up. So you're only seeing the Sphere. You have to like literally go like this to not see it. You have to turn way around to not see it. It was so immersive. I'm not kidding. Now, I may or may not have had 57,000 THC gummies in my stomach.
Wow, that's a big reveal.
However, I was so freaked out when they were pulling out into outer space in the opening.
Yes.
That I literally had to look at my phone so I could get my balance back.
Dude,
it was shocking.
It's so steep up that high. So steep. And we weren't even close to as high as it goes.
No.
I'm not talking about our toxicology reports. I'm talking about the angles of the thing. But yet, there was at least 15 times last night that I had to forcibly sit down, or I felt like I was going to fall over onto the stage thousands of feet below. It felt
and there's I won't spoil it, but they play with the sound and whatnot and the visuals where something zoomed from behind us. And it was, dude, just that alone, you could go sober, not care about the music. Just the visual show alone would leave you breathless. And I'm going to say this. I don't know what the UFC has cooked up for the show there. And it could fall flat. I don't know. But if they match what we saw last night in terms of visual presentation, it will be one of the greatest nights in combat sports history.
Wow.
Just on that alone.
Because I've had talks about this with people since the concert last night about what would the UFC look like in there. And I do think from the standpoint of having fighters look thousands of feet tall in front of you, fighting each other, that might be the most ridiculous fight experience ever. But I don't necessarily feel like, though, not just UFC, but combat sports in general is a right fit for that venue.
Well, they got their work cut out for them. But I'm just going to say this. I'm a hater. People always say, oh, Luke, you're a hater. I am a hater. I don't like things very easily. I don't impress easily, and I don't like Las Vegas. Dude, if you come to this city, I don't give a shit who is playing at the Sphere. Go.
Well, I don't know if any other band, though, has the video set up to pair with the songs,
so we talked
with
about
the
this.
lyrics, with the moments that they have there, Luke.
Grateful Dead is nice. There's a lot of bands that are great. I think there's a lot of bands that could fill that
Dead and
role.
Company. Let's
Dead and Company. Okay. Tool. We talked about this before the show. Tool, I don't know if there's any interest, but Tool could easily.
It could change people's lives.
Change your fucking life.
I don't know if it's a positive change, but it would change people's lives.
I'm telling you, there's nothing. I hate giving Las Vegas credit. I hate it. There is nothing like this.
And you were a downer. When the Sphere first opened, I was very excited about having the experience I had last night. To feel it for myself, and it was a 1,000 out of 10. I mean, it was just. Here's the problem with that. I'll never see a greater concert. I won't because it can't. Unless my other favorite bands find their way there, and maybe they do something even crazier. But it's the Grateful Dead's history playing into what Dead and Company did, and I mean, we're going to show.
Can I say, be honest? It's a lot of John Mayer.
Well,
it's a lot of John Mayer.
There is a lot of John Mayer. I would have liked a little more O'Teal on that big screen, but I'll tell you this. Mayer's a bad man, dude. I mean, I know about John Mayer's guitar playing. I've been a fan of all of his music in this specific project as well. But, dude, he impressed me on other levels last night.
I didn't walk away super impressed by him.
We didn't get to that point. You were, what 3.5 songs in? When we were in that tunnel,
I don't know. The songs were long, by the way.
When we were in the vortex of that screen, I knew it might be go time for you. But we've got some assets to run through.
I want to say this, too. O'Teal Burbridge. Oh. What a mensch. What a nice guy. I didn't know anything really about him or whatever. It was the first time meeting him. First time for you meeting him, right?
I was on his podcast, first time in person meeting.
Okay, first time in person. Incredible guy, more than generous, so friendly, so conversant, a true MK donk. We met his wife as well.
Yes.
Couldn't have been more lovely, friendly as well. Two people that treated us way nicer than we deserve to be treated. O'Teal, thank you so much. I don't like the music, but I like you a lot. You made my night, blew me away. Congratulations on all your success, and thank you for supporting MK, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that last night. What a experience. It really was.
What an experience. I mean, when I say it's now the best concert I've ever been to, it's the best art that I've ever seen. That combination of sound, visual, and what was happening.
It's so overwhelming. You have to see it.
But I'm not doing a bit here. And I've been to great jam band shows. I followed Fish on tour before. I think part of me healed last night. Part of me deep inside. There was I'm not kidding. It was almost a spiritual event at the same time.
How many whippets did you hit in the Arby's parking lot afterwards?
Beforehand. We have some elements, a quick little fun sideshow. Hopefully we'll be putting some of our other elements
together. So we recorded a bunch of stuff. We're going to send it to our video editor to put together a little something.
I put together a little taste just for if anyone's curious about our experience last night. Let's run through a couple of the items here, Luke. We can comment on it. So, Luke, we arrived at the Sphere on the outside, and you're just like, F this experience. We keep it going?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Security had to come get your boy.
I mean, she lingered. She lingered in those areas, Luke.
Yeah, don't worry. I was farting right now.
We'll keep it going. Yes, that was my experience with you, and I loved it, Luke. I loved every second of it.
There's me looking miserable.
A lot of white people in the crowd. You're right.
A lot of whites.
Let's keep it going.
A lot of whites. Dude, I cannot. So they started out eye level with the houses in the Haight-Ashbury district of San Francisco, and then they slowly just pull out into outer space. It was, I literally, BC, did I not tell you I was getting anxiety?
It was.
Because I felt like I was being dragged into outer space.
I shared this with my wife, and she was like, I couldn't, she doesn't like these type of rides but she's like, I could never,
I understand
ever,
that, dude.
ever
I get it. I got to say this. If you are like queasy about this stuff, maybe the sphere's not for you.
It might not be. Let's keep the items going. I mean, just the imagery was just incredible. That was a beautiful moment.
That was cool. I left during this part.
As we continue.
Oh yeah, the pyramids of Giza. Pretty cool.
And so, Luke, let's play this video out. We don't have sound on it, but this is the moment where I think you lost yourself a little bit.
Dude, this was insane. This was insane. They went from outer space through this tunnel into the pyramids of Giza, and I just couldn't believe what I was looking at. Again, whatever you think it looks like on your phone or your screen, whatever you're watching this on, it's even better in person, like by a million miles.
We got a couple more for you. I just wanted to give you a little taste. Legitimately, I could show you 150 photos and videos here, and I've got them on my phone. But
holy shit,
this was at the beginning of Althea, and that's the awesome part. I needed Althea on the set. Listen, it showed up. They also played my favorite Dead song, "Brown Eyed Women," which was a killer. Mr. Fantasy cover by Traffic was incredible. And then Oteil sang. He hadn't sang lead all tour. He sang "Fire on the Mountain," which was incredible. Let's advance to the next one. We got a couple more to show you. A lot of these moments broke out, Luke, where I entered a few different portals and I didn't come back for a few minutes.
Yeah, I understand that. I didn't see this one. I missed this part.
Spectacular.
Dude, it's so...
That was the beginning of Sugar Magnolias.
It's a religious experience to see something like this. It really is.
Yeah, this was a couple disoriented. And then this was sort of a peak moment at the end of Fire on the Mountain. And if you look too close at the screen, Luke, you can lose a little bit of your mind during these moments.
Yeah, you could. I did. I had a couple times where I was like, fucking hell, this thing is overwhelming. It truly is overwhelming.
Yeah. And if we could close with this fantastic picture of the two of us
checking
in with our dude, Oteil Burbridge. The lighting wasn't good back there, but we did our best.
He gave us backstage passes to go to this like friends and family lounge. And it was great. It was great. We didn't drink, though.
So, we were busy with other things. Luke, I do appreciate you paying off the bet. You showed up.
Yeah.
You enriched yourself in the experience. You hit us with a chee-wee-wee. But I don't think this will lead you back into the music.
No, I'd rather get fucked to death by an 8-dicked walrus than go to another show like this.
That is extreme. Wow. But if you were into this and you even had a thought about coming out here, guys, it is worth it.
Also, I'll say it one more time, dude. Oteil is the man. Oteil is the man.
No doubt.
Can't say enough good things about him. What a great musician. I can appreciate the musicianship. He's obviously a phenomenal musician. And
you missed it when they do. So they do the long tradition at Dead concerts, do the long drum solo, which turns into this other thing. It's like world music, right? It just turns into this other thing. Not only was the screens going crazy with crazy drum things, but Oteil comes out to join old-ass Mickey Hart to do it. And they've got rhythms and patterns going on. And when you're at like the Dolby Surround movie theater and it gives you a little bit of boost, right? This was that on steroids, on like the steroids Chael took against Anderson in the first fight level. Look, it would just pop you out of your chair in those moments as the drumming heats up. I mean, it is a physical experience.
I will say this. Now, again, we weren't sitting like front row or anything. Compared to the concerts that I go to, it was way, way more quiet at this one. The concerts I go to are... Dude,
you normally go to concerts in a dome?
True. I'm just saying, I don't know if it's typical of...
I felt like they didn't jack the volume. They basically... If you're not there for the music, then the music becomes a soundtrack to the visuals.
Yes.
And it felt like at least half the people are kind of just there for that.
I agree.
They don't overwhelm you with the music. It sort of plays at even keel with everything that's going on.
Yes, that's true. But I'm just saying, like, the shows that I go to, like, I sometimes bring earplugs because they're so fucking loud. This one, I didn't need them at all. I was like, oh, yeah, this one's quiet. Like,
what do you think the experience would have been on the floor in general admission when you're close to the stage? And
I think if you can't see overhead, it would have been somewhat limited. So I don't know what the best seat in the house is. I mean, I guess front row is the best seat in the house or whatever. But for the Sphere, honestly, I'll say this. I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else in that Sphere. I thought we had great seats. Yeah. I'm being dead serious. When do I get on this show and heap this kind of effusive praise on anything.
Maybe for Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Maybe for
and Latin women. Can we hear a shout out?
Yeah, the Sphere is the BBLs of venues. That's what it is. Apex Predator.
Wow.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
All righty. Luke, we close to remind you here that DraftKings, our great partner, has a great offer for you this weekend. We know it's Tank Davis versus Frank Martin. It's David Benavidez versus Alexander Gvozdyk in this loaded pay-per-view doubleheader PBC on Prime Video on Saturday. If you're a new customer, you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Put $5 down on any matchup. You want Tank by first-round KO? Put it down. If you use our promo code MK, you're going to instantly receive $150 in bonus bets. Put together a little parlay, Luke, all right? Maybe Alex Perez by decision mixed with Luka Doncic under 25 points in Game 4.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, he's probably going to just be guns blazing.
Yeah,
right?
what choice does he have?
Yeah, you're right. Back against the wall. But if you use our promo code MK, hey, fantastic offer. I mean, Luke, tell them about that crown. And I don't mean that.
I've been crowning.
Yeah.
The crown is yours. It's yours. $5 down, new customers. You get $150 back in bonus bets. DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code MK. You can do it for the Tank fight. You can do it for the UFC fights. As you mentioned, NBA Finals. However you want to do it, but use that promo code MK. Get it done. The crown
Quick
is
question.
yours.
A lot of people saying, hey, love what you guys are doing. Love the stuff with All the Smoke Fight. It's very boxing heavy at the moment. Do we have a future doing this type of content in MMA too? New, fresh content.
Yeah, I think some of the lessons that we've had from doing a couple of these things, these wraparound shows in boxing, is our audience definitely wants it in MMA, probably a lot more, and we should respect that, and we understand that. It's a little harder to do because the UFC would not bring us those guys for us to be able to do that. They just don't do that kind of thing. So you'd have to set it all up, which is significantly harder. Here in boxing, they just bring you everybody. So it just makes it simpler. But there are definitely ways in which we can do this in MMA. We will. And I think the fans will love it.
And I think they're going to like it pretty soon, too. We got some big ideas coming out and how we're going to continue to add on there. So shout out to Steven Jackson for joining us on Morning Kombat today.
All the smoke fight, baby.
All the smoke fight, the new Combat Sports vertical. We are part of it. We are aligned. We are family with Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, Brian Daly, and a host of others. Fight Towns, Morning Kombat, great fight coverage on location. It's what it is, okay? Search out All the Smoke Fight on social media, All the Smoke Boxing. Get in on that action. So, Luke Thomas, to close, we have a weigh-in this afternoon for Tank versus Frank and everything else going on the PBC card. We got one more piece of business for the people, right?
We do?
We have a post-weigh-in show today.
Oh, yes. I thought you meant right now.
No.
Yeah. So after the weigh-ins, join us right back here. They're telling us we're going to get Frank and Tank. They're telling us we're going to get Frank and Tank for that show.
I hope.
And I want to ask him about Floyd.
Yeah.
I want to ask him about Floyd. By the way, apparently Dan Canobio ran into Tank at CVS last night. There it is.
I just winked at Raj. That's my guy. That's my guy right there. Okay?
Here's BC. Put the camera on me.
That's my guy, Raj, right there. I know that guy.
This is me talking. It's like BC. My family was.
Look at Raj. He looks like John Jones as a heavyweight. Right?
Hold on. This is how my experience is talking to BC. BC, my family died in a house fire last night. Here's BC.
That's the John Mayer face. See, the only problem with John Mayer on guitar is he's looking like he's shitting his pants as he's going through the motions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot. I got to tell you, little too much John Mayer for me last night.
Okay. Well, you should see O'Teal and Friends on tour if he gets back out.
You know what? O'Teal and Friends.
Oh, I love that kind of friendship. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. More to come after the Tank Frank weigh-in later today. Check out the Morning Kombat channel on YouTube. Anything else you want to say? Follow us, all that good stuff?
Yeah, follow us on all the socials. Follow All the Smoke Fight. Follow All the Smoke Fight on YouTube, on any kind of social place. You're going to get tons of boxing and MMA news there. And I guess check us out post weigh-ins today.
There it is. Whoomp. There it is. And we are out.
Bye.